Hello there, Apple Bites. This is your Apple Bite, Rafael Tavares, talking to you straight from our show here, The Written Writ. Yes, you heard me right, The Written Writ. A show where you and I you, take a journey together to become better writers. And today we are going to be talking to Rob Longo and his Vixens of Virtue. Yes, you heard me right. There's going to be a bunch of vixens walking all over the set, and you're going to enjoy it. Well, hello there, Rob. How are you doing? It's so great to see you again. Feels like ages since the last time I saw you.
It has been ages, my friend. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. I love what you do. I love what you have. Your Vixens is an amazing project. And as we all know, we found the Vixens long before we even knew you. And Cadma ended up buying the DVDs when you guys were at a convention long ago.
Yep. That was a New York Comic-Con convention, I think.
Yeah. I remember we were passing by and the girls were selling the stuff. And Cadma was like, ooh, what's this?
Yes.
And she was like, I like this. I'm going to buy it.
Well, thank you always for your support. It is much appreciated. You know, you guys have been an early supporter of it. So it is greatly appreciated.
No problem. It's a great show, a great property. I like what you're doing with it. I know that you're probably going to start cranking up the machine to work on Vixens. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yes, trying to take advantage of the time, last year with COVID and everything, kind of changed things around and made me change, not direction, I would say, but gave me time to start pursuing my own narrative work again a little bit more.
That is great. And I love all the projects that we've helped you on. Is there any way we're coming back to the Highlander thing?
Well, I definitely owe you guys a wrap party for it. As soon as the COVID thing is more manageable and we're all vaccinated, definitely we'll finally have our wrap party. Part of the wrap party is I will debut the trailer for us all to watch, and we'll see where it goes from there.
I had a blast being one of the immortals. So I can't wait to see what you've done with it.
Yeah, I mean, cast and crew, you guys put in a lot of hard work, with the training and everything, and the sword choreography and everything, and it came out awesome. So we will definitely get that done.
All right, so we all know the COVID has put a damper on all this stuff. How did it affect you? Which way did you go with it?
I think we all kind of got hit pretty hard with it one way or another. I was lucky enough that we didn't lose anyone in my family. None of us came down with it. But to be so isolated, I closed my studio in Patterson,
right?
And I had it for a while, so that was kind of heartbreaking because there was no use for it anymore. I wasn't shooting client work. I wasn't doing narrative work at the time. So closed that down, and that kind of put me in a dark place, I will say, for sure. There was no money coming in. There was no creative outlet. You're isolated. You don't know what to do. And you're watching the news too much and watching the wrong social media too much, I would say.
Oh, yeah, that was the horrible part of it. The news just kept hitting you, and we kept watching it. And after a while, I just had to cut it off.
Yeah.
I'll watch it for an hour and that's it, just so I know what the hell's going on, because it was just depressing.
Yeah. And in filmmaking, you're always looking to solve problems. You're looking to work with what you have, and play on your strengths. So at that time, eventually I got to a point where I guess I was just so low that I was like, all right, well, what's in my control right now that I can help change for the near future and future? I'm like, I could work on my narrative projects, start writing again, start finishing things that have been on the back burner for too long, and no more excuses.
Right.
And get it done. And that's what we started to do.
And that's what we need to do.
And that's what we all need to do.
Exactly. We need to take this thing, meet up with it, try to stop it from destroying us, because it's already destroyed enough lives.
Yeah. Don't let anything crush you.
Exactly.
There's too many things out there that are happy to crush you along. Don't let them. Just, execute your dreams, pursue it relentlessly, and do it.
And that's the whole thing. So, yeah, speaking of which, take us back in time. How does this all start out for you? How do you start off being this creative force that you are?
Oof. I think it was 2005, beginning of 2006. That's going way back now, like 15 years, right? Yeah, 15 years. I was going to the movies, big fan of movies and comic books and everything geeky always, even before it became incredibly popular,
Right.
which I'm thankful for. And I was watching movies that I didn't like. I was writing online reviews about them, sometimes spending a lot of time in the review and kind of trashing whatever movie. And people would be like, "Well, can you do better? Could you do it? Have you ever made a movie?" The answer at that time was no. And like a friend had gone on a weird New Jersey like magazine kind of tour of an abandoned place and took a really cool picture.
Right.
And he brought the picture to work and I saw it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this would make a great horror movie. And I'm like, I'm going to write it. So I wrote the script, the first draft of it. And it came out pretty good. And I kept, working on it, making draft after draft. We did a table read for it eventually. I'm like, this is pretty cool. A couple other things like happened congruently to that, where I was at a friend's photo shoot, and there was a professional photographer, but he was very into the camera and the lighting, and wasn't really directing the talent.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I started to direct the talent, which was my friend. And by the end of the shoot, it had turned around to kind of a disaster of nobody getting what they wanted out of it to a really wonderful shoot. And even the photographer and my friend were like, "You would make a great film director." Those are dangerous words to say to me. I'm like, yeah. And I would love doing that. I have a script. I love movies. I want to make movies.
Right.
What's to stop me? So, driving home on Route 21 in New Jersey, I was like, wow, I should make movies. I'm going to call it 2121 Productions. And I'm going to come out with my own show. And this is all while I'm driving from this photo shoot. Like, I'm going to make a superhero show, an all-female one, because Buffy the Vampire Slayer had just come out of syndication, TV syndication. And like the rise of the geek was on its way, and
Right.
you could feel it. It was starting to swell, from Blade on up, the first X-Men movies. You could see it was building up, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, you can't do that. You didn't go to film school. You don't know how to make movies. Nobody's going to be in anything. Nobody's going to even audition for it." And to me, those are all challenges. If you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it.
Right.
So I read this one book, and I'm a big fan of, also helping yourself creatively to get out of a funk or just become a better person, is to educate yourself and either read great books,
right,
or watch great YouTube videos, or a combination. So I read this one book by Robert Rodriguez, famous indie film director, now big Hollywood, but still, very independent, I would say, in his own way. Rebel Without a Crew. And
right.
the first chapter, it says, if you want to be a film director, get a business card that says you're a film director. And I did it, and I held my castings. Actresses showed up. Some of them were amazing, and we casted them right away. And then it was off to the races from there. And it was, the gumption to do it, the cojones to execute it, and that created the luck that we ended up having because of it. So
that is
and Vixens was born. At one point at the New York Comic Con, the New York Comic Con's home banner, the home banner on the top was Vixens of Virtue with the girls on it.
Wow.
That was the year that Walking Dead had a booth and Adult Swim had a booth, right, and we were sandwiched right between them. So it was a great place to be.
That is an amazing place to be. Yeah. And again, like I love the concept. I love what you had. I like the all-female empowering cast. Did you ever get into trouble for like exploiting the women?
No, because I was a big fan of the Batman TV show.
Oh, that was good.
Cheesy, campy. I was a big fan of the Brady Bunch, so wholesome entertainment. And you saw the rise of women coming into the clubhouse of comic books and everything else, with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, especially, at least influential for me. So I made sure that Vixens had no nudity, no sex, no blood. I think we might have one curse word in one episode. And the women are like never, put over or taken advantage of or anything. So it was always, female empowerment, and fun and campy. I mean, we had guys in cardboard robot suits. So
I have to admit, after working with you on a couple of these projects, I do see the love that you put into the Vixens, and how you actually respect women, and you actually empower them through the Vixens of Virtue. And I think that's an important thing, because so much out there really sexifies women, and it's good to see heroes, whether even if they're campy heroes, which is always fun for me. I love campy. Be out there and be empowered.
yeah, and empowerment is by choice.
Hmm.
You can choose to be sexy or whatever the perceived notion of sexy is, or you can choose to not be. It's always your choice, and that's like the power of good feminism and
Right,
being a good vixen of virtue.
of
See how I
course.
did that? It's pretty good.
We got Philip saying yo yo yo, and John Ottinger, who's a fabulous guy, is saying howdy to us. So,
Hey Philip, hey John, thanks for
um,
watching.
so I know that you've been influenced by Dungeons and Dragons.
Maybe a little bit. A little
So
bit.
let me ask you this. I believe that it's been a major effect on my creativity. There it goes. Do you think that Dungeons and Dragons and the whole role playing universes have showcased or like inspired you to create
Yeah.
what you created?
I mean, again, we're living in a wonderful time now where everybody realizes the value of Dungeons and Dragons, the
Exactly.
value of good role playing games, and even the social part of tabletop games. Dungeons and Dragons teaches you to be a film director,
Yep.
teaches you to be a writer, teaches you to be a creator, teaches you to research. I mean, you could bring a child, I think, from K all the way almost to freshman year in high school, just learning Dungeons and Dragons and breaking down the math,
Yeah.
the English, the story, the drama, even mythology, religion. You could just use that as a teaching tool, period. So definitely, Dungeons and Dragons had a huge influence on me, and still does. Still does. I mean, modules are just scripts. Players are just actors.
Exactly.
The dungeon master is the director.
Director, writer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find it was an amazing thing to see, like, my progress from being a writer to doing Dungeons and Dragons to creating my own character, my own character profile, my own story, to upgrading or graduating to becoming a dungeon master, which is creating a whole universe. And I feel like each aspect of this helped me become a better writer, because it showcased to me how you flesh out your character, how you flesh out your universe.
Backstory, your world building,
Exactly.
everything. And you look at the big successes today, everybody, the guys who did the Avengers, Stephen Colbert, Vin Diesel, everybody played Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
That was their film school. That was their creative school. That taught them all those things and taught us all those things.
And I agree with you. I tell people all the time, do Dungeons and Dragons. It'll help you with your acting. It'll help you with your story writing. It'll help you. It's such a social game with so many aspects that actually help entertainment.
Yeah, true. I mean, I still play today.
See, that says a lot. I love playing. I lost my group a while ago, and I think ended up playing with you at least once. I think.
Did we?
Yeah, we did like a on the spot game.
Was it good?
Yeah, we had fun.
Okay.
Even Cameron enjoyed herself. But
Okay.
Cameron kept saying the same thing. I can't get into this because I'm going to become all
Every
engrossed
so
in it.
often I think about doing like a Twitch stream and running like a game, like of course it's been done and is being done really well, but just for fun. I always say with like cinematography and anything, it's a language. It's a creative language.
Yeah.
And any excuse I have to get behind the camera or be involved with the camera, that's me practicing my language and mastering it. And Dungeons and Dragons, also lets you practice your writing,
Yeah.
your storytelling, your world building, all of it. It increases your vocabulary in that language.
I know you're also a big fan of Joseph Campbell, like I am, and the hero's journey. How has that affected your writing
I
or
am.
what you're creating?
That's like the first time you see it broken down, as a journey and how it's applied to almost every story
Hmm.
and to have that outline, that framework in mind makes writing easier. If you have a understanding and mastery of the hero's journey, and I'm going to put you on the spot right now because I'm prepared, or, from girl to goddess, the heroine's journey, which by the way is the book I gave you, I think.
Yes, you did.
Did you
I
read
think
it?
it's back there somewhere.
Did you read it? Spine's not even cracked, I think. What's going
Oh,
on?
it's cracked. It's
Okay.
worn out. It
All
was
right,
already
good.
worn. Now it's even more worn. I like I like the fact that it went through the female aspect of the journey, and how it described the hero's journey, but through the heroine.
Yep. And it's great to see, all those different sides of it, I have to write, the villain's journey. And
But
how
it's
it
so funny
applies.
because the hero's journey sometimes becomes the villain's journey, because sometimes you start off to be the hero, but you end up being the villain. We all know that, sometimes good intentions will get you a nice trip to hell.
That sounds very Christopher Nolan Batman-ish.
Yeah, but it's true.
If you can't be the hero Gotham needs, I'll be the villain.
It's amazing. And I really love the whole aspect of the hero's journey, the whole crafting of it, the way he explains everything. And I know that he was influenced by Jung, and you can see every step of the way where he's influenced by Jung, how he breaks down the mythology, how he explains the mythology to us. And it got me involved first with Joseph, and then because he was putting all the stuff out there from Jung, I followed Joseph to Jung, and that was a whole other
Yeah,
amazing.
it leads you down to wonderful rabbit holes.
Yeah. A whole amazing journey to becoming a better writer.
Yes,
What do you
and
think
that
has
journey never stops.
exactly? What do you think has influenced you the most when it comes to your creating?
Influenced me the most? I think every time I see somebody who has done it and been successful,
Mm,
that
that makes
drives
sense.
me to get out there and tell my stories because other people have done it, and it's a wonderful way to kind of immortalize yourself
Right.
by sharing and telling stories. And stories are super important. The world is built on stories.
I feel like stories help us survive. Being able to tell stories brings us to a place where we can relax, where we can enjoy other things, where if we're worried about something, it can take our mind off of it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, a story can heal you, help you, give you empathy, teach you, from parables in the Bible to last book in Game of Thrones.
So tell the audience, what is Vixens of Virtue? What's the story behind it? What's your baby?
Yeah. So this baby is old now. I mean, it's 15 years old. But at the time, with such gumption, I'm like, I gotta make it now.
Right.
And that was good, but also bad because I had just started my journey learning the language of cinematography. So it was more gumption than know-how. And I had no resources at the time.
Right.
So it was micro budget, like I said, guys in cardboard robot suits, as many Halloween ninja costumes as I could, afford to go that went on sale after Halloween. So it was, just Batman TV show meets the Brady Bunch with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You had three sisters, the Sweet Sisters, who all were superpowers, and all heroes and everything, versus their evil stepsisters. We all know stepsisters are always evil.
Always evil.
At least in many stories. Sorry if any stepsisters are watching. Don't take offense. The three evil stepsisters don't have powers, so they're jealous. They're jealous of the dynamic of, the mother and stepfather and everything, and vying for attention and ultimately control of Surge City. And they battle for control of Surge City through various, MacGuffins and twisted plots.
I see, I know when we were working on what we're looking at right now with Cadma, you decided to show what happened before. Was this part of the story you had already crafted, or is this something that came later on?
This is something I wanted to tell, but was not fleshed out very well. And this was sort of like I like I said, it was great gumption and great execution to get Vixens out.
Right.
And gave us that luck of success. But it really was before I would say, any business getting behind a camera. So the vision in my mind for Vixens has never been, brought to life the way I see in my mind. And that's haunted me for a long time, I will say. And this Surge City Tales predates, is the prequel to Vixens. And it was sort of my step of, is there a big increase in my skills as a cinematographer, as a director? Technology certainly has helped a lot and changed, so it was like not baby steps, but it was like, this is the next iteration. Is this close enough to my vision? Can I put this out there? Can I revamp Vixens? Because to me, I did Vixens first as a YouTube videos. It was episodic. It was like short little 5-minute, 10-minute episodes, because I couldn't afford to have everyone, put their lives on hold for 2 weeks. I didn't have the money for it or the resources or anything. So it was YouTube. And then once we got the distribution deal, we were able to put, re-edit it, go back, reshoot some stuff, and put it in as a more cohesive DVD, direct-to-DVD movie. But it's still like really broken up by, the previous format of the YouTube videos.
Right.
So
it's basically a YouTube video, yeah.
Yeah. So now I just want to do my 90-minute Vixens of Virtue, feature film with great special effects. We've always been blessed with wonderful actresses and cast and crew. So I think now more than ever is the time where the vision and the final product will finally match up.
It makes sense. Even Lucas, who wanted to craft his epic story, felt like he needed to wait years in order to get where he wanted to go.
Yeah. And he also had always said, especially early on, as far back as like Starlog magazine, I am going to go back and redo things because I couldn't do it the way I wanted to then. And as he learned and, made huge leaps and bounds in movie making technology that we all benefit from, he went back and redid his babies, and he has gotten a lot of flack for that over the decades and everything, but he was always upfront. He said, I will go back and do it. And that one Italian director said, movies are never finished. They are abandoned. And they are abandoned because you run out of time, money, or both.
Right.
So if you have a baby close to your heart, like Vixens of Virtue is for me, I want to see that baby grow up and match the filmmaker I am now versus the one I was, 15 years ago.
Oh, I can't wait. I worked with you on this, and it was fantastic. You actually you saw the story develop. You felt the heart of it. You felt the grit of the story of where it's going and why your characters become what they become. As an origin type story.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm not coming across that I'm putting down my own earlier work.
You're not.
But the great thing about it is, and the reason why we were successful and we had fans and we sold DVDs and we even sold merchandise. We sold posters, calendars, lip balm, everything. I mean, we made it work. But the reason it was successful was because the story was still good.
Yeah.
The characters were still good.
Mhm.
The idea itself was still good. And we did a good enough job with the filmmaking and the technology at the time that the story overcame our shortcomings. And it was still fun and everything we promised it would be. Cheesy, campy, family fun.
And sometimes that's what you want to see.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I feel like people get too serious with their things sometimes. Sometimes we just want to see a good story that's really fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's a place for everything,
Yeah.
And sometimes you're in the mood for horror. Sometimes you're in the mood for, guys in cardboard robot suits, I hope. And sometimes you're into like full drama, whatever. It's
Exactly.
wonderful that we have so many choices right now. So much content.
So Del Guzman is saying everyone has a story. Some are more elaborate than others.
True. But no matter how elaborate the story is, as long as you plan it out, you're going to execute it correctly. And it's all in the pre-production. If you don't have money, spend more time in pre-production.
Exactly.
If you don't have money, then write longer. Do another draft. It's free. It's just for time.
I know that one of the things I've learned from doing so many film projects with people, especially with you, is that sometimes you just have to get creative. If you can't do what you want to do, you get creative and you accomplish it another way.
Yeah, and like I'm a big fan of like as an indie filmmaker, don't do your first draft, write whatever scene you want. They're battling on the satellite that's falling onto planet Floofloff. You can use that if you want, Floofloff.
I like that.
Write it. That's fine. But realize that by the second or third draft, you might not have the money for it or the resources for it. So write a different scene and try to more utilize the resources you do have to help increase the production value of what you're doing. Because like Del says, everybody has a story. Some are more elaborate than others. True. Everybody has one good story. You should make it into a book or movie.
And then he also says something else is wise here. Someone else's story can help you through pain and understanding.
Absolutely. Because, if you relate to a character, it can help you through a lot of things. I've definitely found that and seen, myself in characters and understood even myself better.
I agree with you. I feel like one of the most
magic.
I feel like one of the most powerful moments that I've ever felt in a movie was when the Incredible Hulk, or I should say Bruce Banner, they go, "Oh, how are you going to get yourself angry?" And he goes, "I'm always angry." And I felt like that was such a statement, because a lot of people are like that. They're always angry. They're always depressed. They're always something. And I felt like that was such a great line, and into understanding the character.
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't know. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
I saw an episode or two. I never got into it.
I mean, the character development in that was amazing, and like there was one character in particular, Jaime Lannister, who in the beginning everybody, the whole audience hated, and then mid-season, I could be wrong, but around mid-season, everybody started to feel conflicted. They started to understand him a little better, have some empathy for him. Some people saw themselves on him, maybe, I don't know, hopefully not one of his relationships, but off track. But like, by the end, people really loved him. So, you can see yourself in almost anything.
And I feel like it's one of the things I've been realizing more recent, especially watching The Winter Soldier, watching WandaVision. I feel like our fan base has become toxic.
Totally. I have to say, in general, I am kind of disappointed in the way fans treat each other.
I agree.
I think it's terrible, really, and embarrassing because look, I grew up in, the 70s and 80s, right? So I was a geek, a nerd. I had the glasses. I was super skinny, bullied, the whole nine yards, right? And you would think that because all of us have gone through that to one degree or another, in one way or another, and the fact that all of our culture, as far as geeks go, is always about the underdog,
Right.
not counting out the little guy,
Mhm.
right? And yet we're totally toxic to one another. It's like it's almost like it's like practice what you preach or practice what you've been reading. Like it's disappointing. It just is. You know.
Well, Del says your Vixens look great,
Thank you, though. Thank you.
and he also says I need to watch Vixens.
Yes. Available
And
on Amazon, Best Buy, Barnes and Noble.
oh, so yeah, I was gonna say
Make
it is already out there for people to get if they
Yeah,
want
the
to.
older versions. Just don't judge us on it too much. That's stuff I shot in 2006 and 2009. I'm a better filmmaker now.
Christina says you're a really great guest. I agree.
Oh, thank you, Christina.
Yeah, it's I keep looking at the shows. I keep looking because have you been watching the Marvel shows?
I have not. So I've kind of a problem, right? So and this I think every creator struggles with this a little bit. You're certainly influenced early on,
Right.
and then you start to not close yourself off, but then you get really selective about what you consume. Because one,
Makes sense.
time-wise, you can either consume, and it's very easy to lose yourself in season after season of any show, although you should binge watch Vixens or anything I put out. But you got to also weigh in the fact that you have to take time to create, and you don't want to be influenced too much by outside things at the birth of your creation.
Right.
You know what I mean? So whatever the product of you, the sum of you, in that first moment when you put pen to paper or finger to keystroke, the sum of you is what influenced that creation that's about to be born. Right?
Right.
If you pollute the DNA of it too much by consuming too much, then you're going to get influenced in maybe not the best direction at the time for it, or you're going to get lost or discouraged. And you should never compare yourself to other stuff that's out there. You should just tell your story the best way you can. You know what I mean? I think it's a fine line because, like, I want to watch, the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I really want to, but I'm afraid to, and I try to avoid like big ensemble superhero stuff because Vixens is three sisters versus three stepsisters. I need to go back and watch more Brady Bunch instead. That's part of the final sum of who I am as a creator that got me to Vixen. So it's okay to go back and look at that.
Oh, I love Brady Bunch, and it's one of those shows that I can always watch over and over. It's kind of sad that a lot of the older shows are hard to find now, unless you want to go find it on, I guess, Hulu or whatever they are right now. But sometimes you don't find them.
Yep.
Or they've been gotten rid of.
Yeah.
Oh man. I see here, with some of the ladies that you've had as the actresses on the Vixens. It looks like a plethora of different people. In other words, you haven't done a cookie cutter approach to it.
Yeah, I mean, cinematography is a visual art form, right?
Mm-hmm.
And beauty, eye of the beholder, right? And like beautiful things are attractive and great to see on screen. But a story like this, needed a more diversified cast, and everybody's beautiful. So like I wanted to have like a broad range of hair color, ethnicities, women in general. You know what I mean? Because I still can't afford to alienate myself from one segment of viewers. I want everyone to watch Vixen. So, and that goes back to what we talked about with the toxic, fan culture. We should be, inclusive, not exclusive.
Right.
There should be no clubhouse mentality, no He-Man woman haters club kind of thing.
Right.
You know, we're all geeks. We're all the same. Everybody just wants to watch Netflix and chill. You know, like include everybody. Didn't we learn that from everything from the X-Men to Justice League comic books? Like, you know, Dungeons and Dragons. You know, you guys go separate ways. Like in a horror movie, you're all gonna die.
Exactly.
Stay together.
I think it's
Stay
funny.
together, fans. Come
Yeah.
on.
It's like people don't learn their lessons.
No, I don't understand it. It's really kind of frustrating. But
You know what bugs me out, you know, and I've been
luckily,
dealing with,
Vixen fans are generally not toxic, you know, and generally just love the show because they understand what it is.
and it's funny, like you know, discussing all the stuff that's been happening recently. I feel like a lot of fans of the stuff now all of a sudden is deciding that politics are in comics or politics are. I'm like, dude, that stuff has been there. It was there in the '80s when I was reading the books. I don't know where you know.
Yeah, like, I don't think you should exclude politics from your art. If you feel it belongs in your art, in your story, then it should be. I think the problem we have right now is we're so at polar opposite ends that if I put whatever political view in my story, I'm going to alienate half of my fans because they don't share that same political view. And we don't have any middle ground anymore.
No.
Like, you know, I remember that X-Men graphic novel, you know, The Evil That Men Do. It was about race.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Now, there was no... Did anybody say they hated it? Was there... You know, there was sociology and politics in that.
Yeah.
Right? But, like, we could all agree it was bad. If you were an X-Men fan, you know racism, whether fictional or otherwise against mutant kind, was wrong. But now, nobody knows. Only, you know, one side thinks they're right, the other side thinks they're wrong. And that's what causes the toxicity of it all.
I agree.
And the alienation of it all. And it just puts us at polar opposites. It's like, I mean, I try not to enter into any political discussion.
I agree.
On social media or even among some friends. Some friends, you just skirt around it, you know. And we got to the point where, like, people defriend people because of stuff. And I don't know.
You say one thing wrong, next thing you know, you've been cut off.
It's just going the wrong way in many ways, you know. And it's a shame. Like, geeks should be have the most solidarity together.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what our heroes teach us. That's what every comic book has taught us. Every cartoon, every movie. You know, why are you not learning the message of the story?
Right.
Why are you missing that subtext and not applying it to your real life? I didn't think we were going to get this, you know, political and sociological psychology, but here we are.
You know, it's part of the story. It's part of and I think that's what it is. I feel like people want to run away from it, want to get away from it, but it's part of the story. We tell stories because we're trying to tell stories. We're trying to cause change. We're trying to cause empathy, you know. And there are people out there that are suffering. And, you know, the one thing I remember about comics has always been that, you know, they would showcase these suffering people, especially, you know, like you were saying, that whole mutie thing. You know, and that affected me when I was a young kid, and that watching that racism against the mutants, I would sit there and go, I don't understand this. Why are they treating them differently? It didn't make any sense to me.
Right, and then you go outside and you see humans treating other humans differently. And you're like, that's even dumber. That's even dumber. Like I don't get it. Whatever.
My whole thing is we should respect each other, whether we don't see eye to eye.
Look, we all just want to Netflix and chill.
Exactly.
You want a roof over your house. You want a full belly. You want good entertainment, like Vixens of Virtue.
There you go.
You know, that's it. Like anything else is just. Why are you clouding this? Why are you clouding this up? Don't make this more complicated, people. We all want the same things. We all have red blood. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I saw this and it caught my attention. I was like, okay. You're doing games too?
So yeah. So due to COVID, a lot of time to
Hmm.
write and plan and everything else. And, working on with different partners, a couple of board games. Uh,
Whoa.
that's one right there called Fastest Car Wins, which is right now it's in tabletops. We have it running in Tabletop Simulator, but we haven't printed it out yet. So
Cool.
I got to do like an Indiegogo Kickstarter kind of thing. I had like 3D printed the pieces. I've gotten into 3D printing as a skill set during COVID, big time. I'm on like my third 3D printer right now. Dipped into the whole resin printing thing, which is really cool. That is Impact the RPG. It was originally going to be the Vixens of Virtue RPG,
Right.
but
I was
I
gonna say the
bought,
RPG aspect of it caught my attention. I was like, ooh,
yeah,
RPG.
and that is almost ready. I just need more artwork for it. The rules have been play tested to death, I think, at this point, and it's ready to roll out. And there'll be like a Vixen supplement if you want to play in the Vixen verse and everything, or there'll be a world building section. You want to build your own world and kind of thing.
That's pretty
'Cause
cool.
I'm from the days of like Marvel superheroes from TSR
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
and DC heroes from Mayfair Games and stuff. And like, you look at the author of Game of Thrones. He used to be a big RPG fan, and because of that, he made the Wild Card series,
Right.
which predates Game of Thrones. So, there definitely strong parallels between RPGs and writing books and making movies.
I completely agree.
The
Yeah,
only
and
thing
that's
I
how
wish is I wish in 2006 I had learned to draw so I could have a Vixens comic book. Because now it's 15 years later, I still need a great artist for a Vixens comic book.
I was going to ask you about that. I know that the Vixens, it's an incredible universe, and I was wondering if you ever thought of making it into a comic book because it
Every
makes
day.
total sense.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day I think about it. Every so often I look for artists. The problem is finding somebody whose art matches what's in my head,
Exactly.
who can do the sequential, tedious work of the majority of it, and can I afford them?
And that's the big thing. I know I've been trying to get my Hugbert comic book done, and that price tag, and it really like pulls you away. So I try to make money to see if we can get it to go somewhere, and we'll see what happens.
I wish I had started drawing 15 years ago. I'd be amazing by now, or at least good enough to put out the comic book. But if there aren't any artists out there who are awesome or good, send me your stuff.
You heard them, artists. And there's a bunch of artists that do follow us. So if you are watching this and you looking to work with Rob on his Vixens of Virtues, which is a great concept, let him know. Maybe you guys can work something out. What made you like? It's just amazing that you took this COVID time and started doing these games. Did it just come out of nowhere, or how did this happen?
We were playing games a lot.
Mhm. Makes sense.
Within the pod, your own pod of people that you kind of batten down the hatches with during COVID, and online. And like, you always come up with your own rules and stuff. And then you're like, oh, this would be a good idea. And I'm at the point now where I have no problem. My muse is strong. She always whispers in my ear, gets me lots of ideas and stuff. But doing that idea from beginning to end to a finished product is the big challenge for me.
Right.
And I'm done writing down any more new ideas. Our will burns brightest. I'm just going to finish projects. And I have a backlog, an embarrassing backlog of them, I have to say. And now it's just time to crank them out, get them done, get them out there, let them live their own lives. If they make money, great. If they entertain people and tell a great story, even better. So that's where I'm at after COVID.
I completely agree with you. I'm at that point now where like, okay, I wrote all this stuff. Now we need to start working to make this stuff happen. And for a long time I've been like, okay, so the goal for some people is to be published. My whole goal has been to make the stories happen. Now I'm like, okay, now I got some stories. Now I want to see them published, or my poetry, or I want to see people enjoy them.
Yeah, do it. Can I recommend another book to you?
Yeah, sure. I love that.
I feel like there's like 10 books, maybe 12 books that every artist should read. And if you're thinking about publishing your own book, I would read definitely How I Sold 1,000,000 ebook books in 5 months
Ah,
by John Locke.
that's pretty cool.
Great book. Good
All
about
right.
marketing and stuff and just getting it done. Awesome book. I have a pile of books. Want me to just go through them?
Hey, yeah, sure. It's
Okay.
funny. Recently we were on one of the posts, and we were like going back and forth on comic book writing and what books you should have, to learn the craft of comic book writing better. And we were going back and forth, like throwing the books that we have out there. So by all means, go ahead.
All right. Let's get into it. All right. Any filmmaker, Rise of the Film Entrepreneur, awesome book. He's made a movie or two or whatever, really successful, but he tells you, and he has a podcast too. It's amazing. You should read this before you make your movie.
Right.
Before you make your movie, it talks about the business of it, the expectations of it that you should have. Amazing. And I only just got this book for Christmas, and I have 2 copies of it. I luckily just stumbled into practicing what he preaches with Vixens, just because it was so comic book related that, okay, I don't have a comic book, but I can have calendars, posters,
Exactly.
accessories, all kinds of stuff, not just the DVD.
Exactly.
And he goes deep, and I can't recommend this enough.
That's good to know.
And then did you guys discuss Words for
Oh
Pictures?
yeah, we discussed that for sure. That's one of the books that we were discussing. Going, oh, you should check out Brian Michael Bendis.
If you're going to write a comic book, gotta read this. It is, just simply amazing artwork, amazing breakdown of the importance of different things and paneling and layouts, and really goes into the writing of it. Awesome. And then, as we all know, it is not easy to sit down and write.
It's not.
So any artist, anybody who creates, have to read this book.
The War of Art.
The War of Art. Because it's all about resistance. You want to write, but something stops you.
Exactly.
There's some sort of resistance in front of you. And this book talks about it in a way that is eye-opening. Strongly recommended. All right. Another book. Little
so you're a creative genius.
But so you're a creative genius. Now what? All right. And this goes through, what goes through the headspace of a creator.
Right.
Highly recommend this book. I love this book. This book does not get enough attention as it should now. This is an old book, but also a great book, Gilbert on Greatness. It's like the first sports psychology book I ever read. He uses like the act as if method, which goes back to the Robert Rodriguez, Rebel Without a Crew. If you want to be a film director, get a business card, act as if, do it.
Yeah, just be it.
Steal Like an Artist, also a great book. Really short, really fun. Every so often, like when I have a creative block, I just reach for one of these books, open up a page, read a little bit. Maybe now it's time to try something weirder.
Exactly.
Famous graphic designer and all around creative guy wrote this, and it's just amazing how to get out of your head your usual way. And then this is the last book, and then I'll be done. This is interesting. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Ooh.
Not about writing, not about filmmaking.
That's very helpful.
Just the psychology of breaking the bad parts of yourself, the bad habits, the bad thoughts. Super great book. I'm not even through it yet. I'll probably read it 1,000,000 times though once I finish it once.
Yeah, because as a writer, one of the problems we run into is that we get stuck in ourselves, and it causes us to not write.
And what happens to writers? They either fall into a vice of drinking, drugs, or some other terrible, sinful debauchery, or they, end up, God forbid, killing themselves. It's not easy to sit down and write and open up on the page like that.
No, it's not.
Thus, you have to feed your inner writer with great books, a little prayer, and good YouTube videos.
I agree.
And that's why also I don't consume much entertainment because I got to feed myself first.
It makes sense.
Because that's the only way I'll be healthy enough to then share my stories.
And I agree with you. I do feel like sometimes if you, as a writer, this stuff can actually affect you. It can get into your own work, as you're watching other people's work, even if you're not paying attention to it. And sometimes what you need to do is just like disconnect from it. Or, I always tell people, if you're stuck, if you can't write, read a book.
Yeah, or go to something unrelated.
That too.
Like okay, so Vixens of Virtue comic book, superheroes. So I avoid superhero stuff mostly. But that doesn't mean I can't watch a soap opera, or something non-superhero and be inspired by that. That's a little more healthy, I think, in a way.
It helps, yeah, because sometimes you'll bring that into your book, and now it's a whole different aspect to the book.
Right.
So what is this? Hold on. There we go.
All right. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I am a big Game of Thrones fan.
Yes.
And every house in Game of Thrones has a motto, So I thought it was cool. And also part of feeding my own head, that House Longo should have its own motto.
That makes sense to me.
Burns brightest. So Robert, is actually a base German name, I guess. It has Germanic history to it, and
right.
It means fire or bright flame, or even religiously, it is the flame of the angel Michael's sword that he uses to dispatch
right
the fallen angels and Lucifer and everyone. So, Robert, our will burns brightest, and I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. Green Lantern power is based on will, and if you have the will to create the habits to execute your vision, then you'll get things done.
That is a great phrase.
Success will come.
That is a great phrase.
I should write that down. But
speaking of D&D and Pathfinder and all the good stuff, here we go.
Yep. It's a little old throwback. I was running a Pathfinder game. I've even been, done the professional game master kind of thing.
Oh, that's right. You told me that.
Yeah, and it was really fun and rewarding. And even playing with younger children and everything, like teenagers and 11, 10-year-olds, their imaginations are not hampered by negativity. They have not heard as many times as we have heard, you can't do that, or that's a stupid idea. They love all their ideas and they just run with them. And it's so enjoyable to see kids play, Dungeons and Dragons, etc. in Pathfinder.
One of my favorite things is to talk to kids and, create a story with them, because their imagination is just limitless.
In my Japanese food today, but there was a fortune cookie and it said something about a good father never forgets. Oh, can I get it? Can I just
go ahead.
So
I'll keep showing pictures here.
One moment. Right here.
So, y'all are out there. We're talking to Rob Longo here, and we're talking being creative and the creative genius.
All right, here we go. It's a great man never ignores the simplicity of a child.
Beautiful.
They're the greatest creative minds, unhampered by no's and negativity in society.
So I'm guessing that a lot of these older motion pictures, have affected you, especially from looking at this here, how to be a motion picture director.
So anybody interviewing me, I send them this because I think it's hilarious. And, kind of true, and in some interviews I haven't sent this and just given the answers because, it cracks me up, some of the answers that this guy had given way back when, I think the funniest one is, who's the greatest director of them all? I am a modest man.
That's a great answer. That is a great answer.
Yeah. How many kinds of directors are there? 2 kinds: those who make artistic pictures and those whose pictures pay.
That is true. Sometimes you got to make the picture to pay so you can make the artistic picture.
Yeah. So I don't know. That just cracks me up. I love that.
I can see why. I saw this up there. I was like, I'm gonna have to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is pretty cool.
So, everybody has like a vision board. This is
Hmm.
an older one of mine. And, seeing it, feeling it, being it, the most important part of that is to hold that frame. Meaning, if you want to do something or be something, then hold that frame, do things within that framework to get what you want done.
I think one of the best things, especially when I was in your house, was watching the boards that you have up with all the different bits and pieces, to motivate yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a great way to stay motivated.
It's also a great way to make your studio or office look like kind of an insane asylum, because I love big white poster board. I love a blank one. And any project I have, I write to it. It's my whiteboard. But then I have so many projects and so many whiteboards that there's no more wall space. And it's
Yeah,
just all whiteboard with crazy chicken scratch scribbles and sketches and writing that later on I usually can't even read. So,
I
but
hate when that happens. You're
but
like,
it's
damn, this is a great idea.
yeah, what does this say? But it's definitely, part of the process for me. I need my whiteboard, I need to outline it out, and then, I have steps after that I follow.
I agree with you. I think it's a great idea. Like I still have mines up here from I was doing for the written writ like a while back. We were creating a story together with the audience, and I left it up there, because it reminds me that I need to get back to it.
Yeah.
And I know for sure, I know damn well that if I don't have that up there, I'm not gonna remember to go back to it. Even if people remind me of the project, I'm gonna be like. And I love all these different ways that writers actually get themselves writing. They get themselves looking at other things. Do you have any other tricks or I guess?
I mean, my process might not work for everyone, but before the whiteboard part, the outline, let's say, I have the vision portion where I
Right.
imagine the different scenes. And if it's a scene I like, then it goes to the whiteboard
Right.
and it's part of the outline. But then I think the best one that I use, and I even have a script here, is I will write a scene like on the index card. And then when it's time to write that scene, I go to the index card. So I'm never facing a blank page. I'm always facing an outline on the wall, an index card with more detail of the scene in front of my face. And I'm not writing over a blank page. I'm just writing a page to the index card.
Makes sense.
And the index cards are great, because I color coordinate them, because a little OCD, I guess. My act ones are blue, my act twos are yellow, and my act threes are red or whatever. And it lets you like move them around because you can lay them out on the table and move the different scenes around of your story. And there are apps that do this too. So it's whatever tool or way works for you best. And I will also say I got into mechanical keyboards, which is a rabbit hole I don't recommend if you don't have a little extra money to spend. But mechanical keyboards, because it's a tool. You want to enjoy using the tool to write. And I love like a good clickety clackety, tactile feel to my keyboards. And I have to say, it makes the process of sitting down to write more enjoyable when you have good tools for it, like anything else.
I have to admit, I've seen a couple of these where they're just the keyboard, and it feels great to like just sit there and go back to old fashioned and type something up, and not have to deal with the papers and all this and that because it's going somewhere else. So I know you're also a photographer, or you've self-taught yourself, right?
Yes. Yep. So I do everything from real estate photography to headshots, to live events, to first communions, just about everything. I'll do anything that gets me behind the camera.
That makes sense to me, and I've told people that before.
Stills, it's fine.
I've told people before. Sometimes you need to do other things, to keep yourself creative, keep the money coming in,
Yeah, and it's photography and videography are of course similar, yet very different. And I'll explain why. A still photo, there is a pursuit of perfection.
Yeah.
You can have a model, for whatever photo shoot you want, and you've got like 14 lights doing different things, that are important and essential for the shot, and it took you all day to set it up, and you have, your assistants, using the diffusion on the lights, on light 3, can you move it a little bit to the left, whatever. And you're really capturing that one perfect frame.
Right.
While movies, on the other hand, you're abandoning them because they're never finished, because you run out of time and money. Because, right, 1 second of film is 24 seconds, depending on your camera settings. It's 24 seconds of 24 frames. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. 24 frames in 1 second is generally like the film look, we'll say, right? So that's 24 frames. You're not going to be able to get perfect. Do the math. 24 frames in 1 second. 1 second to 60 seconds for 1 minute. A movie is 90 minutes. That's a lot of frames.
Yes, it is.
You are not going to get them perfect.
No.
You're not. So there's like a weird difference in those two pursuits, but I'm happy to be in both of them. And both of them feed off of each other and have
they do. I've become
has made me a better cinematographer.
Yeah. I was about to say that. I feel like the more I take on photography, the more it helps me with my cinematography, because it helps you find those scenes that you're looking for, because when you're trying to get that one shot, like you're saying, you're trying to perfect that one shot. So it helps you understand when you're looking at film or when you're looking at a shot or a scene, how you want it to actually be.
Yep. And it's still visual storytelling. That's what it comes down to.
It is. And the one thing that I gotta admit I like about you is that you actually have fun doing what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a passion. I love it. I think even this is hopefully your audience will appreciate it. I think the first big leap of faith for me was when the movie Enemy Mine came out. You remember that movie? Science fiction movie.
Yeah. Okay.
It's about two enemies, starfighter pilots. One's an alien, one's a human. They fight. They have a crazy dog fight, but they both end up crash landing on the same planet.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to actually work. It ends up that they have to, not to spoil it, they have to work together to survive.
Exactly. Great
when
story.
I was a little kid playing with my Star Wars figures, I always wanted to have big wars, the rebels versus the Empire. And my sister always wanted to have like a love story. Boba Fett was dating Darcy Covergirl. Barbie was really jealous about it, But really, I mean, Boba Fett did belong with Darcy Covergirl now that I look back at it. But she would always want to have like a more human story in it. Right. And I had this one story where an X-Wing pilot and a TIE fighter pilot were far away from their home bases. They were fighting and they landed on a desert planet. And of course, it was Tatooine, and we were trying to tie it into Star Wars: A New Hope. But they ended up working together to overcome the environment. Right. And then I see Enemy Mine. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the story my sister and I came up with when we were like, 6, 7 years old, with our giant action figure collection in a giant base, converting the living room and dining room to, play sets, much to the chagrin of my parents. I'm like, wow, so I could make movies. I could write movies. I did one as a kid. Enemy Mine, it was my Star Wars play. Come on.
I completely agree with you. I was the same way when I was a kid. I would put all the toys out at the same time, and it'll be like an epic war or battle. And poor Henry always got it.
Yeah, see, but that gets back to what you're saying. I try to have fun. I try to make it fun for the cast, the crew. It's play. It's still play.
Yeah.
You're still playing. And like even like because I can't draw, I remember the storyboards I used to do for the Vixens fight choreography. There, I actually used action figures, and frame by frame, changed it, handed it to the director of photography, said, "This is what this big fight sequence is going to be like." I have every frame of it,
That's a great way to do it, especially if you have the toys to do it, because you're setting them up. You're still showcasing the scene.
It's a great excuse to still play with toys, I guess.
I agree. But like I feel like a lot of people in the industry or in writing, and they lose track of this the fantasy aspect, the childish aspect, why they're writing, or why they're creating.
True. Yeah, it's just children at play telling stories.
Exactly. I see here you're at New Jersey HorrorCon.
What's that? Oh, yes.
So what was this for?
You know what? That was like one of my first horror conventions. And I wanted to kind of scout out the horror convention scene, because even though the first thing I ever wrote was a horror script,
Right.
I never shot a horror movie yet. But I'm looking to change that this year. So before the new Vixens of Virtue comes out, I'm originally from Cedar Grove, New Jersey.
Right.
And, I had like a very not typical, but I guess it is typical, like Stranger Things, kind of growing up in a neighborhood. There was like a mythology there even, and like there was a bike trail and Devil's Hole and all these features as a kid that are
Exactly.
bigger in your mind as a kid than they are in reality. But I thought to go back to my hometown and maybe, use some of the settings there for horror movies and make my own little horror movie verse called The Grove. And I think the first movie out of The Grove is going to be called The Husband. And, it's going to be, a good but interesting horror movie that I'll hopefully shoot within the Cedar Grove, New Jersey area, since New Jersey is the birthplace of the filmmaking industry.
Ah, yes. I almost forgot about that. Edison. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, I can see, you again, all I see here is you actually enjoying what you're doing. You looking back at your childhood and taking those aspects and making a story. It's all important. It's all like what we do. And like one of the things again I like about you is when we're on set, as much as you're a good director and you want everybody to do what they're supposed to do, you take a moment to enjoy the moment.
Yeah, I mean that's why I would get back to we need our Highlander rap party.
Yeah.
I owe you guys it big time.
Oh, but that Highlander was fantastic. We had so much fun with it. And speaking of which, this is the house we filmed it in.
Yep.
Oh man. So people want to find the Vixens of Virtue. They want to know what you're up to next. Where do they go to do the various things? Where do they follow you? Where do they
So on the Facebook, 2121 Productions, for sure. I'm gonna revamp the 2121 Productions site, because I got really caught up in my journey as a filmmaker with doing client commercial kind of work, which
Right.
has been wonderful, and I'm super thankful for, because again it gets me to increase my vocabulary and my use of cinematography as a language.
Right.
So I need to spend a little more time on my website, on social media. Follow me on Instagram, Snap Zoom Click. It's a more of a hybrid personal / 2121 Productions Instagram account. And drop me an email.
Cool. I can't wait to see what you do next. And of course, that we would help you. We'll help you with the horror movie. We're always willing to help you out because you're a very creative guy, and we want to see you be very successful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love you guys.
And we love you too. And I can't wait to actually see you again.
Yes. Well, I get vaccinated really soon, actually. So
I just got my first shot on Wednesday.
Yeah, I go Monday morning for my first one.
Which one are you getting? The Moderna or the
Pfizer?
Pfizer. That's the one I got. Pfizer.
Yeah, I'll take anyone. I kind of wanted the Johnson & Johnson just to have one shot and done, but that doesn't seem possible anymore. So.
Well, guys, this has been the Written Writ, and we've talked with Rob Longo, a great director, producer, creator, and you guys should keep an eye on him because he's going to do great things.
Keep up the relentless pursuit of your dreams and make it happen. Just do it.
So, one thing before we go, because I know you mentioned it earlier, if they want to find Vixens, where do they go?
So they could go through our distributor, MVD Entertainment, and buy it through them. You could buy it on Amazon still, I believe. Barnes & Noble online, Target, Best Buy, and Walmart might also still carry it.
So do yourselves a favor, guy. Believe me, I've enjoyed the Vixen universe. Go check it out. It's worth a look, and it'll be interesting to see where he changes it when he starts working on it again.
Yeah, those older DVDs, they'll be a collector's item one day.
Ooh, there you go, guys.
I
So
hope.
get out there.
I hope. Shoot for the stars. Landing on the moon is not so bad.
All right, guys, get creative, get bitten, and this is Writ Ralph and Rob Longo signing off.
Thanks for having me.